Recording in progress.
I call the January 22nd, 2025 Bremerton City Council study session order. Study sessions are always open for the public in person, or you may choose to listen in and view remotely, but there'll be no opportunities for input. The content of these items is subject to change and no action is anticipated. Just an ongoing reminder that questions and comments by the public may be submitted on any item by email to city.council@ci.bremerton.wa.us. And Zoom recordings of study sessions will also be available online within a few days following the meeting. Please note, also counselors, please note that tonight's agenda was amended to add an item from the Department of Community Development, a walk-on item, but there will be no action tonight. It's an ordinance correction of 5290. That is going to be moved to item B8 with the current item B8, the supplemental agreement with HDR Engineering, to be moved to item B9. In addition, we're adding an item D1, which is the executive session. Any of the items approved for action by the council tonight will be placed on the February 5th, 2025 City Council meeting agenda or as otherwise determined. With that, we're going to start with our information only presentation. With us tonight is Tom Nucky and others, Kate Hedriching and Carrie McNeil from Puget Sound Energy, I believe. They're online. Welcome. To present item A1, which is the Puget Sound Energy full mounted electric vehicle charging stations program overview. Take it away, Tom.
I just wanted to do a little introduction and just let you know that PSC reached out to us here a couple months ago with a pretty exciting program. We think it's a great thing. Happy to be working with PSC on this, and they're the experts. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch to Kate and Carrie to go ahead and give the presentation.
All right, thanks so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So Carrie and I are really excited to tell you more about our pole charging program tonight. As Tom mentioned, we've been working with city staff on this program for some time now, so we're really excited to move this forward. I'm going to be sharing a slide deck, but I'll start with some introductions. I'm Kate Hartering. I'm a community projects manager at PSE, so I work on our clean energy solutions team and work on other publicly cited clean energy programs like public charging and community solar. I'll pass it over to Carrie while I share my screen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carrie McNeil, and I am the program manager for public charging at PSE.
All right, I'm going to put this in presentation mode. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just for our agenda tonight, we're going to briefly go over PSE's transportation electrification plan and then go more into detail about our pole charging program. I'll talk a bit about the community engagement that we have planned as part of this program, as well as where we are in the partnership process with the city of Bremerton. And then we'll talk about next steps. So I'll pass it over to Carrie.
Okay, our transportation electrification plan is a 5-year strategic framework for electric vehicle products and services. And we enhance clean mobility and enable market transformation. We address the charging infrastructure gaps, plan for and manage the electric loads that will be needed, and also further energy equity and inclusion for these products. The specific product that we are talking about today is pole charging. So if you see on the right side, B is the traditional ground mount EV charging stations that you'll see mostly like in a retail parking lot. And they require a lot of work up front and then a lot of construction, including, digging to the site, repaving, and can be very expensive and take a lot of time to get the installation complete. The pole charging that we have, the drawing figure A, these go on our distribution poles and sometimes on streetlights as well, PSE-owned streetlights. There'd be about 12 to 15 feet up the pole. The customer would come to initiate payment by either tapping the card, or they could download an app, or they could call to initiate the payment. And then the cord would come down. they would charge their vehicle. At the end of the charging session, the cord goes back up. So if you see the actual picture on the left, that is a dual mounted charger. We can install either a single or a dual, and then we would be electrifying 1 or 2 parking spots. The parking spots would then be for electric vehicle charging only, and we would include signage stating that. And if possible, we like to paint the parking stall and the curb green. We have a big stencil that we would paint the EV spot, just mainly because they are up and out of the way. And so you can't necessarily see them as much as you can the traditional larger charging stations. So that is the concept. And back to Kate.
Yes. Thanks, Carrie. So one really important aspect of our pole charging program is gaining community input in these siting decisions. Equity is the cornerstone of our TE work, so we want to ensure that community voices are heard. So our goals here with community engagement with the city will be to give communities opportunity to influence where we site these chargers. We also want to be able to utilize existing engagement channels that cities already have, because we know municipalities have already trusted forms of communication. We want to understand community needs and concerns and know where people will actually use these chargers and where they'd like to see them, and also increase equitable access to public charging. So our initial plan was, after this presentation, the city would release a survey that we've been developing with city staff that has 10 different potential sites for pole charging locations that communities can then rank. So we'll understand where people actually want to see these chargers and then be able to work with the city to narrow down a couple of poles that make sense to install. So to give you all an idea of where we are in this process, we met with the city back in the summertime to have some initial partner meetings, but over the fall, we worked on community outreach planning, where we developed that survey and kind of how to reach residents using channels that Bremerton already uses. So our next step will be to actually execute this community engagement with that survey via email. And then we'll meet with the city again to review all of the community feedback that we received, narrow down a couple sites, and then PSC would go evaluate those sites in person to see if there are feasible poles in those areas. And then we would move forward to construction and interconnection. So PSC would pay for all of the permitting, installation, interconnection, everything involved with making these pole chargers happen. And then we would partner with the city again to launch and just do some targeted marketing to make sure that EV drivers in the area know where these new chargers are. So as I mentioned, the next steps are just to release that survey, review that feedback, and just really be collaborative with city staff on where it makes sense to site these chargers based off of community feedback, and of course, any upcoming initiatives or projects that the city has. And so with that, any questions?
Okay, thank you. We'll open up to council for questions. Jennifer?
And it's hard. I'm sorry. Can you say your last name for me? I apologize.
Oh, Hartjuring.
Hartjuring, and it wasn't that
Yeah.
hard. It was genetic. Thank you so much. This is exciting, and I appreciate the resourcefulness of this idea. And so I just had a couple of questions. I was going to ask about practicality and how we can apply this in the city, because it seems like a really great idea. And so one of the, how long? I guess I don't have an electric vehicle, so how long does it take to charge an electric vehicle, y'all? It depends, right? I mean, it depends. Like, you can get a little bit of a charge in an hour, enough to get you to the next location. I don't know. Is it
Overnight from a dryer outlet?
overnight for a full charge?
10 to 15 minutes for fast, super fast, I think.
Okay, so it's definitely dependent on. Can you educate me a little bit, if you have that information, on what kind of on how quick a charge would be at this location or at one of these sites?
These would be level 2 chargers, so they're kind of the in-between. It's a step up from just using a direct outlet, but not quite as fast as the DC fast chargers that you'd see, those larger ground mount type. I believe that if you charge for 2 to 3 hours, you would get 20 to 30 miles of range.
Okay, so we need to have a space that's going to allow for 3 hours worth of parking.
I believe the
Um,
typical is 4 hours
Okay.
for the signage per the RCW.
Okay. I don't know that do we have 4-hour signs? We do. So
We would include the signage.
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. And so I love the concept, and I'm curious about exploring the practicality of that kind of a parking space. You know, what are we going to do if somebody is parked in it that's not charging? Do they get towed right away? That sort of thing. These are, you know, as we were exploring all last year about, you know, Washington Avenue. It was that was a process, right? And so that's one of my concerns, and so that's a finance parking investment. This didn't go through a committee or anything, right? It's just information only.
It got mentioned yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Then I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and defer to Public Works then.
No, they didn't mention. It was just mentioned. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll wait for another round if I have any more questions. I'll go ahead. I'm done.
Okay, any other questions?
Thanks. Hey, thank you for making this presentation. So what are the physical requirements for these chargers? Your photo here shows a park with a sidewalk and a curb.
So the pole, one of
Curb
the,
practicing?
sorry,
I'm
what was
sorry.
that?
Is the curb required?
A curb is not required, but the pole would have to be on the car side of the sidewalk because we want to eliminate a cord going over a sidewalk. And that's one of the things that we would look for in our site visits when we evaluate the potential locations.
Okay. Thank you. And my colleague Jennifer just asked about people who are parked in front of the poles, even though it's painted green. It also seems like a great place for a Hulk vehicle. I have a suspicious mind.
A Hulk vehicle. Wait. Point of information.
A place to abandon a vehicle.
Oh, I thought you.
I thought she was talking about the.
Yeah, I think that was a Marvel reference.
Me too.
No, I am innocent of the Marvel universe. So would you like me to try that question again without the Marvel thing?
Please, no,
Okay.
no mention of the MCU.
All right. So what about
Trademark.
drivers who park in front of the pole, either innocently, like they don't know what the green means, or on purpose because they intend to abandon the car there?
That's
Well,
of course.
we would have the signage and the stenciling to deter that. But of course, that that could happen just like it could in any parking spot. And, you know, the city would have to determine if they wanted to remove that abandoned car or what to do moving forward.
I'm sorry, my colleague is telling me that I should not ask a different question. What question would you like me to ask?
President Younger, I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting. May I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying you should probably ask administration that question and see what they say.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So how easy are these to vandalize and how easy are they to repair?
So PSE would control the maintenance, and if they were vandalized or were not working for some reason, we do have a 97% uptime with our contractor, so that we would, you know, be replacing or repairing as soon as possible. Since they are higher up, it would require a ladder to actually get to them if they weren't in use. To vandalize. And that's one of the reasons why these are a little bit more, a little bit better in some areas for the ease of having them just right on the pole and because they aren't constantly down unless they're being used.
That seems like a really intelligent design. Thank you.
It is. Thank you.
So my final question is, has to do with the outreach that you're doing, and I completely applaud your goal of equity and inclusion. I think that's an entirely laudable goal. I'm going to suggest that the channels we already use and the places where people already are using, already have electric vehicles, then you're going to be located in upper middle class areas. Voices that aren't usually heard are voices that aren't typically reached by typical communication channels. So one technique that our planning department, DCD, uses is to simply mail a postcard to every residential address in the city. And that was it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you.
Tom?
Yeah, Kate and Carrie, I was wondering if you could just kind of explain a little bit about how you envision the rollout of this occurring, how many charging stations per year, and then also if we could just kind of provide a little bit of information regarding what our staff recommended locations for consideration by the public are. And I know that we think parks are a good idea, and in talking to PSE, I believe they indicated that parks were a priority location for other places, also adjacent to businesses and multifamily. I believe is where we landed. So, but Kate and Carrie, could you talk about rollout, please?
Sure, I'll go ahead and go for the number. So right now we've been starting with 2 to 4 different locations per jurisdiction, and that could be either the single or the dual chargers, depending on what we find when we go out on the site visits, and also what's available for parking. And it really does. It is a very collaborative discussion. We would make sure that the city was fine with the locations that we are proposing, and if there are any questions, if there are any future potential road improvements that would hinder that, or other issues, then we would definitely not want to install. So yeah, it's kind of 2 to 4 at this point, and then as we see the utilization, and as you know, hopefully the usage of electric vehicles increases, we could continue to discuss, you know, now let's look at these next site locations, or let's start over and um, think completely fresh and look at installing 5 or 6 more. We're kind of building it as we go, so what it looks like in the future is we'll find out in the future. But we definitely do want to continue to grow it. And I'll turn it over to Kate for the engagement.
Yeah, so looking back at our discussion while we were doing that community engagement planning, I believe what we ended up really focusing on are both kind of business districts as well as areas that have some multifamily housing. So per the point that I heard earlier, it's, you know, we really want to make sure that we're increasing equitable access to public charging. So part of the real purpose of this program is to hopefully make it so that multifamily unit dwellers can also charge their cars, since they're less likely to have a, you know, personal garage if they were in a single family home. But we also talked about parks. We talked about looks like areas downtown near City Hall. So I believe we ended up with a pretty good mix of those 10 sites on that ranked choice survey. But I can make sure that a link to that is sent to this group. I think Tom, you might have it in case anybody wants to look at it before we send it out, just to make sure.
Jane?
I have a couple questions. We close our parks down at dusk. So, I mean, if the staff identified sites that are on the outskirts of the park, that might work, but the interior, people aren't allowed to be in there. And then I'm wondering, how much is a charge going to cost someone when they pay for it?
So for the first part of the question, we are looking in at our poles that are in the public right of way. And the second part of the question, I believe it's 28 cents per kilowatt hour is the current rate. And it is
What does that
market
translate
based.
to?
Honestly, I would have to get that information. I haven't used them yet. I also do not yet own an electric vehicle, but it is a market based rate.
Okay.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, a couple of little questions. How many of these units are in existence right now, up and running?
PSE has not installed any yet. We believe that our first jurisdiction that we will be installing will be likely in May. Um, Tacoma Power and Seattle City Light do have installations, and Portland also has quite a few. I
Because
think
I was
Portland has several hundred.
Yeah, is there data from them about like what type of locations were the most utilized? Because that's all, we definitely want to make sure they're used. Um, so I was wondering if you're either from those jurisdictions or there's any information about, I guess that's what you're basing your sites on, I guess. So then, but a follow-up to that then would have been, if we install one and it just doesn't seem to be getting the usage that we would hope for, can it be moved?
We are looking for a 5-year agreement. And if there's something obviously that there's something going wrong, that is not being used, it would not be beneficial for us because it's not being used, but it also would not be cost effective for us to remove it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer?
Okay, so just the basic search. So market rate being 28, I don't know if that's competitive with, I don't know if y'all look at the map, can you see blink on your maps, like blink? That would be a nice feature if that were, are you planning to get yourself on the map with these locations like blink is?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. It says residential rates fall around 14 cents per kilowatt hour, and so I don't think 28 cents is that unreasonable. I'm excited about this, and hopefully we can partner with you and find a great location. And I'm sure more will be revealed as this is an information only. So thank you very much to the both of you, Ms. McNeil and Ms. Partering.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
I will echo Councilmember Chamberlain and Mr. Nucky. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and pretty exciting news. Thanks for sharing. Okay, next item up.
I'm charged.
Oh, that's a Jeff. That's reserved for Jeff to make those kind of puns.
Sorry.
Next item is, no, that's okay. I was joking. This is all equal. You can have puns as well.
I think I took his pun, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's more coming from him. Item B1 is to welcome Fire Chief Pat McGanny to present items B1, which is approval for fire department to apply for FEMA assistance to firefighter grant. Chief McGanny, welcome.
Thank you, Council. Good evening.
They're not mine.
Well, don't need them yet.
Don't?
No.
Stop bragging.
Just to see
Right.
far away and big writing. So tonight I'm before you to ask for approval to put in for this year's the firefighter grant. What we're seeking funding for is to purchase 4 Furno Power stair chairs. The stair chairs will be able to go up and down stairs with the assistance of 2 people. If we can get them, will help with back injuries. So we're deviating from Striker just because of the cost. And the batteries for the Strikers, which is everything we use right now, and their stair chair is different than everything else they use. So it is more cost effective to go with Furno. If we get them, they will fit in the compartments. So the grant is, total grant would be for $52,000. And there would be a 10% match out of our current operating budget.
Council for questions? Now that you explain what Furnos are, we all know. Jane?
Manufacturer.
Are these the chairs that look like a pink track on the bottom?
Yes, it folds up. So we currently have manual ones, so you can fold them down and it'll help go down the stairs. These will actually, under power, go up and down the stairs. So we don't have to lift. And if they're uneven ground or rocky ground or snow, the tracks will go through those. So better for our patients.
Okay. Thank you. That's my only question about it.
Great.
Okay, other questions?
Just fiscal question. I mean, it's under The threshold is, are you bringing it to us because there's a match requirement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right, how do we treat this item?
Consent.
Consent, thank you. Consent it is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Next item up is the approval for Police Department to apply for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. We have Lieutenant Ryan Heffernan here. And just as a reminder, we have this grant every year. Go ahead, Lieutenant.
So the police department is applying for the Edward Byrne Memorial Grant, a longstanding federal program providing funding to state and local jurisdictions for law enforcement purposes. The grant's named after a New York City officer who was murdered while protecting a witness. And as it has in the past, the grant will be used to support the Community Resource Unit, partially funding the Community Resource Specialist position. The requested grant amount this year is $14,524. It's a slight decrease from last year, and there's no matching funds required. For context, the department has received grant funding in various since 2010. Overall funding to the state is based on a calculation of population and Part 1 violent crime statistics. And a portion of that funding, 40%, is allocated to eligible units of local government. The department uses the money to partially fund its community resource specialists and support the department's crime prevention and community partnership functions. Since 2012, Joe Sexton has served in that role, building relationships with local citizens, businesses, property owners, schools, and other community groups. Joe oversees the volunteer program, neighborhood watch program, landlord notification program, trespass program, and handle with care program. Joe also works closely with the patrol division as well as city departments to solve community problems. For these reasons, I respectfully request the council approve the grant application and its continued contribution to these important functions.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant. Was this discussed at Public Safety?
No.
Okay, no worries. Any questions from the council? Jeff? Jeff first, please.
Clarification, because I see the application from fall of last year. You're applying for this year, not already received.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way we set it up, we needed to submit the materials, but to actually get the funding, we need the approval from the council. So
Okay.
it is for 2025.
Gotcha. So the motion is just approving to accept it. Should it be awarded?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anna?
Thanks. Just thanking you for this. I've heard the Edward Byrne Memorial Award go in front of council multiple times, but I was in the city when he was killed because they wanted the witness. And that was quite a shock. So thank you very much for applying for this and for giving it to the community services. That's still currently Joe Sexton?
It is still currently Joe Sexton.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, how do we treat this item?
Consent.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
Thanks.
Item B3 is the agreement with Schneider Water Services for the Well 9A drilling project. With here to present tonight is their managing engineer, Bill Davis. Mr. Davis, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Bremerton City Council.
Hello.
I'm here to talk about the agenda bill for contract award to Schneider Water Services for the Well 9A drilling project and then the associated budget adjustment. And this was talked about at the Public Works Committee yesterday. So the Well 9 site is located in East Bremerton off of Central Valley Road. It's about half a mile south of Wagon. And there was a well drilled at that site in 1977, Well 9, and produced for decades, but in 2010 started to produce sand. So they took it offline, and our hydrogeologist recommended a new well, but it could not be rehabilitated. So in 2023, we redeveloped the site, made it larger to put modern well drilling equipment, which includes tanks. And we bid the project in August 2024. We only received one bid, and it was significantly over our cost estimate. So we bid it again, we repackaged it, we bid it again, enlarged the site also to make it even more compatible. We got 3 bids this time in December, and Schneider Water Services is the low bidder. That was $100,000 lower than the previous bid, but still above our engineer's estimate. So we're recommending award. There will be a budget adjustment that is required. There's also, I wanted to mention, there's a follow-on project in late 25, going into 26 for get the well online to put a control building and chlorination building on the site so that we can put the well into service.
Questions, comments from the council, Public Works, or any thoughts?
About repeating what I said in Public Works of, every bid we got came in below the engineer's estimate. I think something was wrong. So this coming in slightly above, makes sense to happen. But I noticed it's not on the spec sheet. What was the engineer estimate for the project?
It was 1.2 million.
1.2? Oh, okay. Gotcha. So 370,000 above. Okay. That's all.
Okay, other questions? Anna?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Okay, thanks.
I'm wondering, like, why are we putting this well into service, since we haven't used it in 14 years?
This is, the old well is,
No, but like, why don't we just let it die?
we're actually gonna request, we're in the process of requesting a new water right up to 1,280 gallons per minute. Right now, it's only 280 gallons per minute. So it's a significant increase. We need the water just for demand purposes. And this is based on what our hydrogeologist says about this site. We can get over 1,000 gallons per minute from this particular aquifer. That's it.
Yeah, no,
900 feet.
I remember that. But I guess my question is, so it wasn't needed for 14 years, but now it is needed because demand has risen. Okay.
Yes.
It's a big chunk of change when we're trying to like trim corners. I mean, we're still selling water from our system, are we not?
Yeah.
We also don't want to give up water rates. They're really hard to get.
That was the hidden thing.
You
So
don't want to give up water rates,
Yeah.
but there's also a water quality component. Like this is the furthest north well in our system in East Bremerton.
it's in the county, right?
It's in the county.
Yeah.
Yep. It's on our system. It's in the county. Gives us an opportunity to chlorinate that part of the system when it's running. We'll have chlorination equipment there. So it improves our water quality with our chlorination opportunity, and we do not want to give up water rates.
Because the water rights is the thing. So there's a statute of limitations. Like if you don't use it for X number of years, you lose it.
It does expire.
We're getting beyond my knowledge about that,
Okay.
but I know that the reason that we're doing it is to maintain our water rate, show that we are using the water
No,
rate,
and-
and to develop the water rate.
I totally get keeping the water rights. So
There's also redundancy too, having that well up there. We only have 2 other
Okay.
wells in East Bremerton. All the other ones are down in Gorst and by the golf course. So this just improves the redundancy in our system.
okay, thank you, Bill.
So sorry for missing this. So look at the spec sheet or the cover sheet. The budget was about 1.5 million. It's going to be increased to 1.8, but the low bid is 1.57. What's the extra 300,000 for? Is that overhead for?
There's costs from the hydrogeologist, city staff time.
Okay,
Sales tax.
that's on top of
No,
this.
sales
Sales
tax
tax is
is in
included
there.
in here, but okay. Gotcha. So okay, other expenses not included in this bid. Okay.
Well, yeah, you do get the sales tax back, some of them. Thanks.
Other questions, comments from the council? Seeing none, how do we treat this item?
Consent.
Consent. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Consent to be. Next item, contract modification number 6 with Parametrics Incorporated for engineering service during construction of Kitsap Lake Park renovation project. Mr. Barker, the floor is yours.
Greetings. Good to see you all. B4 and B5 are very similar to each other, but I'll just cover this one first. Under this agenda item, this is a request for modification with Parametrics for contract due to the contract period going beyond the winter to get us completed in the spring. We've made some modifications in the field as construction occurred as well, so there was some additional engineering that needed to occur. Their original contract was approximately 113,000, and this looking out, we're looking at an additional about $12,600 for this contract. This would be covered under our contingency fund, so there's no additional funds being requested for this project. And so to be able to move forward with their services that they've been providing, which has been an extremely helpful insight for us, especially with a couple of us being brand new to the city. Their leadership has been very valuable, and so this request is for the additional 12,644 and 40 cents to modify their original agreement with Parametrics.
Okay, do we have a chance to go before Public Safety and Parks on this?
No, Parks does not exist in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
At
maybe
this time.
they go to
They used
finance,
to,
they go to finance or they go to.
no parks.
We can talk about it at the retreat.
Okay, well, good.
Oh, I saw that. I wink, wait a minute, now I caught on to smell what y'all are cooking.
All right, so let me rephrase the question. Anybody have any questions on this item? Jane?
Yes. So how much extra time, like what was the original amount of days that they were supposed to be working and what's the change order for? How many more days?
I cannot see these charts, but I believe it's in the back there.
There was a pair of glasses on the table.
Yeah, yeah. They were.
Yeah,
Last year I decided I needed to get those. I just have not done that yet. It's approximately about 3 months worth of work. Does it show?
Contract original amount change.
Okay. So that's.
On page.
It's 82.
Just on 82 hours. Okay. Thanks. Oh, wow. Oh, great. So cool.
I can see.
I got about.
Quick little joke.
It's,
My mom's a little talking about glasses. My mom's grandma had her they call that the eyes
Glaucoma?
no the cataract surgery.
Yeah.
She was disappointed. You know why?
she could see again.
She realized she had ants in the house. Okay.
And uncles.
Well, we're here all night, folks.
Let's hope not.
Oh, so for the record, I've had 2 pieces of cake and I'm gonna have a third during the break. All right.
Oh, we're getting a break?
Right, yeah.
Already on.
Having said that, are we done questioning this item?
Yes.
Are we treating this?
Consent.
Consent is? Mr. Barker, you're here for the next one.
Okay.
Contract modification number 3 with Parametrics as well, for engineering services during construction of Haddon Park renovation project. Go ahead, sir.
So again, this is very similar to the previous one. Original contract amount was 118,000 and change, and we're looking at an additional $7,100. Again, this is due to some corrections that have been made due to grading changes that we encountered during the projects with landfill site and the extension of the project for some extra months. L&I still has our restrooms under review, but again, additional services that they've been providing to us. And again, the changes in the modification would be covered through the contingencies with the project, so there's no additional funds being required or requested from any source.
Okay, Jane?
So the previously approved changes were close to $50,000. That included in your contingency
Correct.
also?
Yeah.
And big contingency. Okay.
From various parts within the project.
Okay. All right. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Other questions? Anna?
Thanks. So their coordination with PSE was caused by, like, the unanticipated coordination with PSE was, what happened that they hadn't anticipated?
So it was, I think it had to do with where the connection point was going to be for electrical for the restroom area. And so some additional unanticipated needs that we had for some of the design, additional design.
Driven by L&I.
Driven by that, yep.
Okay. This is a very long meeting, so I'm not going to talk about parametrics. Thank you for your answers, Mr. Park.
Well, if I had known that, I'd make all the meetings very long with that.
It's not gonna last forever. It's like a special birthday treat.
Oh, thanks. Belated birthday treat.
Yeah.
How do we want to treat this item?
Then
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
that'll hot seat.
Okay, next item up is the amendment number 3 to Claims Administration Agreement with Helmsman Management Services LLC, doing business as Eberly Vivian Incorporated. With us, we have Risk Management Specialist Melissa Fulmer. Welcome, Melissa. I haven't seen you for a while.
Good evening. So our workers' comp claims administration agreement expires at the end of this month. And what I'm proposing is extending our agreement with Eberly Vivian. I know that they've been bought out, but it's still Eberly Vivian for another 2 years at the rate of $35,563 for the first year. And then the second year is a 4% increase. And we've been with them since 2017.
Okay. Any questions from the council on this one? Jeff?
What's the current amount that we're paying?
Current amount is $32,105. So it's a $3,457 increase.
Pretty reasonable for a year right now. Okay.
Okay, Jane?
So we've been with them for 8 years now. Is there, like, at 10 years, do we put it out for general bids?
We can go for an RFP on it.
How long
There's-
do you usually stay with the same vendor?
Well, I know that we had one vendor prior. We stayed with them until 2017. So
Geez.
there's not many providers that provide these services for workers' comp
Okay.
claims. They're like our third-party administrator for all of our workers' comp.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anna?
Just really, really minor before this goes to the consent agenda where I'm sure it will end up. Please fix the typo in the recommended motion from Vivina to Vivian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, how we treat this item? Consent it is.
Thank you.
Sometimes I can read the.
Moving right along. Item 7 is the ordinance to amend BMC chapter 2.09 relating to the Department of Financial Services. And with us tonight, we have our city attorney, Snell.
Hi there. So I had actually a comedy skit planned for this presentation because I wanted to make fun of Mike and say that this is all about him.
Yeah, it is.
Wanting to be addressed about a more elevated title. And I had ideas about, likening him to Duchess or something like that.
Grand Poobah, that's what I think. Grand Poobah.
Duchess or something like that. I don't know. But I didn't get a chance to really work on it, and then I was afraid if I had lived it, it would just fall flat. So here you go. This is I believe it was discussed in Finance Committee, at least briefly last year.
Probably
The idea is that obviously there's a lot that's under Mike's purview that is not just money, it's things like IT department, contracts administration, looks like Melinda, parking, that kind of thing. Cat.
You've got asset management, so really it's all inclusive, that way they feel like they operate under umbrella of finance. We're along the team, we don't work at finance. So, right.
And so with the name change, the main name changes to one section of the code, but then there's reference. And so that's where you see that there's actually several sections of code that are implicated. But I hope that we did various searches and cross checks in different terms, trying to make sure that we got them all. Hopefully we did, and if we didn't, we'll come back and change that little piece. But I think we got them all. John Hickley in my office worked on finding them all. So that's what this is about.
Great questions from council.
You feel better? You feel better?
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be great. I do want to make a comment. We will not be changing envelope stationery business for no cost. Not gonna also be new mailing, so there's no financial cost to it.
Just LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Does the new title come with a crown?
A Burger King crown.
Yeah, Burger King crown.
Yeah.
That's the next item.
Does the new title come?
That's what we
with a
can
raise?
afford. Close at the end of this. Last year.
I know we like.
Consent.
All right, how do we treat this item?
One
Oh,
question,
sorry.
one question.
Go ahead
You
on.
can't just roll the, like, next time you need stationery, you can't just update it.
Yeah,
Okay, and thank you for wearing your crown so well. He's so humble. Oh, yeah.
Just for the record, I don't know, you probably might have mentioned it, Kyle, a quick search, bunch of other cities, Seattle, Kirkland, Bellevue, Vancouver have merged names, so. it's good to see.
Yeah.
Rapid search.
Good. Consent it is. Thank you.
Moving right along here.
All right, so the next one, as I mentioned at the start of this meeting, our new item B8 is the Department of Community Development. It's a walk-on item. We noticed a correction that needs to be made to ordinance 5290, which we discussed last December. Mr. Jackson's here to provide a copy. This was an item that I believe was caught today or yesterday. And I'm going to let Mr. Jackson explain the circumstances, and I think you'll understand why I decided to allow this to be walked on. Okay?
And it's two-sided.
So when you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you. We did recently just find out that their council adopted an ordinance in December for permit process. And we recently discovered that there were a few clerical errors in that ordinance where the legislative markup that was approved by the planning commission, some of it didn't carry over to the council copy for the ordinance. So it's very spotty. I'm not sure how it's. We've highlighted every instance in this ordinance that's attached. There's about a dozen instances.
Okay.
But it doesn't change the content of what was approved by the planning commission. It's just for some odd reason that legislative markup didn't transfer over. So that being said, this may be a small matter, but it does still require a public hearing. So we're here tonight asking council if I can have permission to work with the city attorney and city clerk on how to amend this motion to best address this small clerical issue, and that we would bring that to a public hearing on the 5th.
Okay, questions?
So no, so all the presentations and discussions we had were accurate in terms of what we were adopting.
So some big differences here, like under design review on page 16. We approved something that said the design review board meetings were not subject to the requirements of OPMA, whereas in fact they appear to be.
Correct, and that was what was approved in the planning commission copy. That's been the advice of the city attorney that they are subject to the Open Public Meetings Act, and so that was what spurred that change initially that was approved by the public, by the planning commission.
So council, rather than go through this, in case you want to perhaps any other differences, I suggest you take it home, read it. And if you have any questions, please direct them to Mr. Jackson. And we won't actually address them to Mr. Jackson via city council, so we don't have a quorum issue. And our staff, Christine, will consolidate them, send them to Mr. Jackson, and he will answer them and provide us the answers to them. Because this will be on our next council meeting as a public hearing item if you guys so. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Should we make this a public hearing on the next first meeting in February 5th.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's do it.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I'd like to request a short break. If now's a good time. I know.
I'm not quite hungry for cake, but I'll honor the request. If you want to take it's 5:51. I'm good.
Before we jump into naval oven.
Right. You're gonna need the extra.
Before we play in traffic.
All right, so it's I'm gonna start the clock 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, boss.
two.
Or,
You got this.
okay, we're back in session, folks. Next item up. Mr. Nucky, Mr. Lever are here to present supplemental agreement number 4 with HDR Engineering Incorporated for the Naval Avenue First Street to 15th Street pedestrian and bicycle enhancements project. Continued discussion. Gentlemen, go ahead.
So we don't have a presentation, but we do have a couple comments. We've been working on this project for about 6 years. We developed the channelization design in coordination with an advisory committee that we met with multiple times. We had open houses. We took input from the public and from the advisory committee, and we incorporated recommendations. And we've had the configuration of the channelization, which it's a wonderful project. It's a road diet on a roadway that has over vehicle capacity. We are significantly improving sidewalks. We're providing bike lanes where none exist. We believe we have the right design for the project. It took us 3 years to secure the right-of-way that we're asking council to move forward on, and that's over 2 different grant application cycles, which is challenging. At this point, the position of the administration is that we're at a design freeze, and we're not considering any rechannelization for the project. That said, we will be happy to try to work with council and the public to incorporate some delineation, some enhancements to delineation, either through flexible posts or perhaps curbs. We have sufficient budget to have an open house to communicate this project with the public as it moves forward. But that's the position of the administration.
Okay. So council before us tonight, as you're all aware, is this agreement for the right of way. Same one we had last Wednesday. Open it up for comments.
I'd like to comment.
Good, Jane.
So, not only did we purchase a lot of material to make sure we fully understood the design standards, but we met with very well educated people in this area, and we came up with some suggestions that did not change the right of way at all. As laid out, there was nothing that changed it. And we were immediately told that no changes at all would be considered for the mayor, and the city attorney said a new resolution would have to be written, and that they were doing a design freeze if we don't all agree tonight to move the project forward. So our recommendation is we have 2 years of right-of-way. We have no construction money at this point. We haven't even applied for construction money. So we're hoping in the next 2 years, there'll be some changes and people will start looking at what current design standards are for pedestrian, bicycle, people in wheelchairs, people on scooters, and that they'll consider modification in 2 years or when we get funding to construct this project. I was especially disappointed that it wasn't, we prepared a really nice presentation, which has been emailed to all council members. And it was like, nope, administration says we're not changing anything at all.
Okay. Denise?
I don't know how all this is gonna, end up, but I do think it's important to mention that this process, I know, has been incredibly frustrating to staff. And I know that they have felt undervalued, disrespected, I do know that. I do know that. I even went back, there was some allegations made in the meeting yesterday that my behavior at the last city council meeting was personal, and I went back and I saw that all I mentioned was that I believe there's a lack of depth and transportation expertise within the department. This was before we were told that the managing transportation or the transportation manager is now out on yet another extended leave. And a transportation department staff person had just quit. That was after I said that I thought we had a lack of depth. That's not a personal attack. It's an organizational fault I'm finding, and I think it's impacting every single project, every single multimodal project. I think we need a paradigm shift. I think we need to welcome best practices. When I read what the charge was to our council last week, it had words like collaboration, working together to find a solution. That's what I'm used to doing, and I've done it really well over my life, really well, before coming here to Kids Out. We brought law enforcement, medical doctors, physicians, domestic violence advocates, sexual assault advocates, all of them all together in one building and sorted it out as to how it was going to all work. That's collaboration, where you do something for the greater good. And I think you can look back and see, I was totally shocked by what we faced in that committee yesterday, being told that they had gone to the mayor and with the consultant, and that the administration had to determine that there is now a design freeze on this project. I asked how often that happens, and I was led to believe all the time, because council really doesn't get involved with design. And that makes it sound like we're picking out luminaires. And I think design with bike and pedestrian and other projects is the fundamental principle of the project. So to have council not be involved in that when we see that it's not sufficient, or we feel isn't sufficient. But it was the threatening tone. I actually felt like I was being boxed into a corner, which was not a good feeling for me. It's a trigger. I kind of felt like I was in one of those galley kitchens, without a way out, and that there wasn't anything else to talk about. And I've worked with that stuff for long enough to know power dynamics when they're happening, power and control dynamics. And I don't like it. It didn't feel good. I don't function in that kind of environment very well. And I call it out. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but it was not a conciliatory, collaborative meeting. And to bring the mayor into it, I think I ended up calling it silly season because of that. So that I'm feeling very dispirited about it, and knowing that, we've got other projects right around the corner where all this stuff is going to come up again. All of it is going to come up again. Warren Avenue Bridge, the 6th Street, all of it is connected. So we are not on the same page. We are not on the same page as far as prioritization of multimodal transportation, and that's frustrating. So I don't want to hold up, anything unnecessarily. I really don't. I thought we were pretty close.
Okay, Jeff?
I'll just add, since council unanimously agreed for us to try and work together to collaborate, adding on to what Jane said, we met with about 5 the different folks who spoke up at council, right? clearly the public was surprised on this project. That's the mayor's administration communication that they were surprised. So meeting with them, we did really try to find a scope that was extremely limited to changes, didn't affect right away, didn't affect sidewalks. And so that was presented. It was not really discussed, unfortunately. And we did ask about, in terms of funding for design, of what about pulling from 6th Street project, if there are possible funds there, since that's early in the design stages, other sources. But there was unfortunately as well not much discussion on that. So it was I wish we had a more robust discussion, but it did not happen. So I'm at the point where I do not want to see this project not happen. So if we need to approve right away, we'll approve right away, but it's on mayor and administration at this point to engage with the public and hopefully listen to their concerns and see what can happen in the long run.
Okay. Jennifer?
You said there was a presentation that was sent to council. Can you give me some information?
You have it in your.
Beginning of the meeting.
In your email.
It's
At
in
the
your
beginning of the
email.
meeting.
It says something about BCC. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but yeah.
Beginning of the, okay, so can you tell me what time, I don't.
Jeff can resend it to you perhaps.
Okay, I don't have it in my
It's from Jeff.
Public Works, is that what Public Works
Yep.
Committee?
No.
Got it, thank you. Okay. I have no questions or comments. Except that.
Any other questions, Council? Good. Sorry. I
Well,
missed.
I'm deeply disappointed by this. I really did think that when we were talking about collaboration, that collaboration would occur. I think that the current plan is fruits of the poisonous tree. I think that the stakeholders group did not contain members, significant weight of members of the community, members of the walking community, members of the biking community, and that had you chosen from those communities, this information would have been available to you way earlier. One of the people who commented on this plan and has very courteously pleaded with, and here when I say you, I mean Public Works. I don't mean the two of you.
Engineering, not public.
Fair enough. I
So
thank you
does
for
that
the
include
correction.
me? When you say you mean engineering, that includes me, right? So I just want to make sure that we're clear about who we're talking about. when we
Yes,
say you. Okay.
engineering.
All right, thanks.
And one of those commenters is the member of the same planning commission to whom we, the council, are constantly referred as people who know better than, or who have more expertise in how a city should be planned than we do. I mean, they're the planning commission. And that seems to me that that should carry weight with you. Is it accurate that engineering doesn't have design staff capable of redesigning this plan in-house?
You cover that in a second. Let me start out with the advisory committee. So I believe we provided the list of the advisory committee members to council previously, but I'll resend that. We did have a representative from West Sound Cycle Club.
Diane
We had
Iverson.
representatives from, I believe, Kitsap Transit, School District, several others. Navy.
Perfect.
Several others. As far as qualifications, we have excellent staff. We have highly qualified licensed professional engineers. We hire consultants for two reasons. One is if we don't have the expertise to deliver a project, or the other reason is if we don't have the capacity to deliver the project. For this type of project, we have 100%. We have qualified engineers capable of delivering this design project. We just don't have the capacity.
Okay.
So that's the reason. There's a lot of citizens that have a lot of passion for cycling, right? But I can tell you that the design that's been delivered is designed by qualified professionals, licensed qualified professionals, and we engage the public. And we're considering all modes of transportation with a project goal to reduce the vehicle capacity of a corridor ever so, minimally in order to provide exceptional pedestrian and bicycle facilities where none currently exist as best as possible with, minimum right-of-way. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Ned?
Well, I have two comments. One is at the council meeting when we're talking about all this collaboration that we agreed to. I think I was very direct with the whole council saying, hey, we're going to push this over to Public Works Committee. It's the same story. Like I don't see the benefit of going to Public Works Committee and rehashing this same story. You can go look at that tape. I was as clear as I could be about that at the podium. So when you say you're disappointed that there wasn't collaboration, the collaboration was being dictated by council and wasn't really it wasn't like we all said, hey, let's go collaborate. We were directed to go to Public Works Committee to talk about this with council, right? So there's that.
And it's their choice.
Right. So when you talk about, do we not have the expertise to do this in-house? Or so when we have
That
a
wasn't an
consultant.
accusation. It was a
No,
question.
let me just explain how it works. Like, I think that question tells me that you don't understand how the process works. Okay. So when we have a consultant on board, we don't take pieces of the design and start doing it in-house. We hire a consultant. They are putting the whole plan set together. That's all on their plan sheets. It's on their border. It's all of their work. They stamp all of the work. So if there's going to be a redesign of the project, it's not that the city staff are going to go in and do that redesign. The process is we bring a contract amendment either to the mayor or to the council so that we have that same consultant do this whole design. So that's how it works. So even if we did have the capacity or capability, in this case, we wouldn't do that. It's their project. It's their product that they're doing the whole thing.
Okay,
So,
I'm just gonna
Yep.
continue for 1 second. Well, for several seconds. So again, I said last week that I thought Eric's point was very well made, that we are not professional engineers. Yet when your consultant states that the engineering plan they devised was designed with the intent to provide capacity for 2040 based on estimates that motorized vehicle use will continue, that is something that we can comment on.
You already commented on it when the council approved the goals for the comp plan that says that we're supposed to plan for 2040 capacity. Like, commenting on it like we don't want that at this point is in direct contradiction, thanks, of the goals that are in the comp plan. Our role is to plan capacity for 2040 and beyond right now. Actually, I think it's 2044 now. So that's a 20-year plan, right?
Yeah, I'm just quoting your consultant. Well, I disagree with your premise by saying that we are looking at 2040 capacity. I think many of us are expecting that in 2040, people will be bicycling. These e-bikes, again, are really a game changer, or walking to a more walkable city. And through a more walkable city. This contract, which Michael has taught me well over the years, is what we should be focusing on. But this contract is based on a design. And I truly understand the frustration of working on something for years. I think every single person in this room has worked on something for years, only to see it fall to dust and ashes at their feet. Everybody gets that. It's, one of those casualties of being alive and trying to do good work. I'm really sorry that the engineering has accepted the ruling that there is a design freeze on this. And I think that Jane is quite right. Down the line, we could well have a better climate for a project for which only design work has been done to date. Is that correct?
I don't understand the question you said.
There's no money for construction, so no construction money can have been spent.
Right.
Money
We
has been
can't
spent.
spend construction money until we get through the right-of-way phase,
Right.
which is what this contract amendment is for.
Right.
And then we need to finalize the design to get it to 100%. And then we need to go after construction grant money from somebody, and then we can go to construction.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
And just to go back to my, a question before and then totally yielding to you, Jen. Could this, if there were capacity, could engineering have designed this sixth Naval Avenue?
No, there's not
Okay,
capacity.
thank
So it's not whether, if there isn't capacity, look at our capital improvement program. We have multi-million-dollar projects, and we have many of them, and we have a bunch of smaller projects. In order to deliver the workload that we've programmed, and it's based on the funding that we've gotten in grants, we have a massive amount of work. I don't know when we would have capacity to design this project. Do we have the capability? We have engineers that could design this, could lay this out, could design this. We're doing construction management and design and delivering many, many projects. We will be a project management shop forever with the workload that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jane, go ahead. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Michael first.
So yeah, Anna, thanks for reminding me about the purpose of this is the right-of-way acquisition. And so I'm sure staff feels a little bit like we're holding this piece hostage to get some of the changes. I do think it's a good project. I was very excited every time I've seen the pieces of it develop over the years. It's literally close to home for me. And but I think I have to kind of imagine that we're talking about risk here on both sides, right? We're talking about bicyclists, risk, and was literally called a collision point and things like that. But also, even there's if there's the standards and regulations that the consultant really has followed. They might not, where we could possibly tell an engineer to do something counter, but we've got these consultants that their reputation is staked on doing the right thing. But kind of back, and I think I said this the other night, is like a lot of what I'm hearing, maybe aside from turn pockets, and I want to kind of ask about the piece that was in the presentation, but we're talking about something to provide a barrier, and it seems like the T-sticks could do that. We're talking about red light. I'm sorry, not red light. Right turn on red.
No right turn on red.
That's not a right-of-way issue. The T-sticks would not be a right-of-way issue. And I don't know if the presentation that was emailed, I haven't looked at it in depth, but would require any change to the right-of-way. So it seems like we're not asking for any right-of-way changes, but we're holding up the right-of-way. And that's like, I'm asked to approve this right-of-way. That's the question in front of me. And we're kind of holding it up for stuff that we possibly could solve later. Now, I don't want to hold up the next milestone that we have to do, but if it's possibly, I'm just hypothetical on this, but like if it's, I don't know if we could change lane width 6 inches or something like that to recoup enough space to do a different barrier, but that could still happen. That could happen down the road. It could happen at a different time. Do you want to comment there? You did. So the one wouldn't change right away. And it didn't change any construction standards.
Oh, right.
Locations of
locations of sidewalks are needed right away. Use the existing lane.
So we're
reconfigured the existing.
Mostly talking about paint.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, it doesn't seem like I almost don't get why feel like we're at such an impasse.
If we're frozen.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you.
Well, again, the question in front of us is, should we acquire the right of way? We've secured the funding. Can we keep working on this project? We have frozen the project first. Okay, can I let Jane interject or?
Go ahead, Jane.
So we were told at previous council meetings that at 90%, no more changes to the plan. So that's why we asked if we could go back and get some discussions going and have engineering staff consider some changes. Now, I mean, I don't see why things can't be changed in 2 or 3 years, and it's just channelization for all standards that are current with NACTO and ASHTO, and NACTO is exactly what WashDOT is their preferred guidance. So we were just hoping that you would consider some changes sometime. And we were told here at a council meeting that they would not, because it's 90%. And then there's a couple other things I just want to mention. In the JCTP, it clearly says that both this and the 6th Street project are not base access issues. So we're spending a lot of time talking about the Navy's needs.
What does that mean? Are not base access issues? What do you mean by that?
That these are not projects that were made to make it easier or worse for the Navy to get in and out of that gate.
So you think
And
the
there's a lot of them
the
that are.
JCTP wasn't anticipating trying to maintain the gate access for the Naval Avenue gate? Is that how you take it?
No, it's not how I take it. It's that the Navy doesn't, I mean, the majority of projects in the JCTP did call out that it was for easier access for the Navy. But these specifically, that those boxes were not checked. And then I just want to clarify one thing. One of the 2 people who were on this SAG, I don't know what you call it, your advisory committee. It's only 2 are actual residents in Bremerton. And one of them clearly sent in notes to that committee disagreeing with some of the stuff. So it's not like, oh, we showed this and everybody loved it. I mean, there were residents of Bremerton, the 2 that were on it, that were not thrilled with some of the decisions made.
Both of you on the SAG group? Denise, you were in the SAG group, weren't you, for that? Were you on the Naval Avenue project or not?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I
was
thought
on
I
that
heard,
side for-
Michael, you were.
Yeah, but yeah. I take my role, as a council member, I take my role in those things a little differently. Like, tend not to be very vocal, but.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I
But-
thought someone told me Denise was there, but okay.
No,
But I agree,
Diana
we can't just stop it. And that's the decision that the mayor and administration made. That wasn't a decision that we made. We asked if we could go back and talk to him again about very minor changes.
Okay, can I just address that? Like, we've had conversations about removing right turn lanes. We've had conversations about removing 2-way left turn lanes. We've had conversations about removing left turn lanes and making them left turn through lanes. We've had conversations about having to have all ages and abilities, on that corridor. We've had conversations about needing to, how do you protect the bike lane? Like, I think there are things that we could do. And I really thought, like 2 weeks ago, I thought we kind of had this figured out, honestly. So I don't know what tipped it over after that meeting. I mean, I was sitting around this table and it felt like we had been asked to consider changes. And honestly, we took an engineering approach to that. We went and looked at the queue lengths, like we went and looked at the counts. We looked at all of those things that are warrants for us to look at for, why we came up with that design. And at the end of the day, we stand by it. Like, we stand by the design. It's a good design. It's a safe design. And I know that we want to shorten crosswalks, but we don't think we should do that at the expense of long queues for traffic trying to get in and out of a shipyard, right? So there's a balance between providing access for cars, improving safety for bikes, and improving safety for peds. 8-foot sidewalks were what came out of the SAG groups. 8-foot sidewalks. They didn't say protected bike lanes with all ages and abilities. They said we want wide sidewalks. So not one person in the SAG group doesn't make the decision for everybody. I think I attended one of those meetings. I didn't go to all of them. We think this is a good design, but we keep trying to torture it so that we can gain some ground to eliminate turn pockets that we don't really think is a good idea. I know that we don't like the bike lane on the inside of the right turn pocket. I know we want a bike lane at the edge of the intersection at the curb line. In order to do that, you have to have a protected bike lane with a buffer. And if you're going to do it for the whole intersection, you're buying a lot of right of way. We had that conversation yesterday, right? We asked that question of Nick. Nick thought it's like $1 million to $2 million to do the right of way, to do a fully protected intersection at 6th and Naval. We don't have that programmed from a right of way acquisition perspective, which is, dollars and a significant amount of schedule. So yeah, we've got quite a bit of time before we start constructing anything. But we stand by the design that we have for Naval, and I think we're close on 6th Street. And I know there's still a question about the right turn pocket at Naval on 6th Street too. So we've tried to explain as clearly as possible why we stand behind this design. I think, Denise, you praised Nick for his presentation yesterday.
I can't disagree with any of the facts. I really can't. It's more just a lack of commitment. It's like.
Well, so that's a slight. So
Yeah.
excuse me, but I see that as a slight, and I know you don't. And I know that you don't think your comments at council were inappropriate. But I don't think you know how many people came up to me after that meeting the next day to apologize for what that was like. And my staff that made comments about the comments. So I know you don't think it's inappropriate, but I'm telling you, from a staff perspective, it completely is.
What's the timing on our active transportation plan?
It's up for public comment right now. Is that what we're talking about now? Active
So
transportation?
let's not.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just want to clarify, those were not things that we talked about yesterday. We just talked about the proposal that Jeff sent to all of you. We didn't get into no right turns. We didn't
Yes,
get
we
into-
did. The Naval
No.
at 11 says no right turn. It's no right turn pocket, right?
Yeah, so hang on. So
No.
I've been patient here. So first of
Yeah.
all, I'm glad we're airing this out. I would prefer we air this out here tonight. It's public record. Rather than another performance next week. I think we're all on the same page. What troubles me, there's several issues on this that troubles me. This is a darn good project. It always has been. And that's getting lost in the messaging of, and I respect everyone here that's going through this. I hate saying I've been around a long time, but I've been around a long time. And I haven't seen this type of oversight on a public works project. I thought the bridge was bad. And this isn't coming from them. This is coming from and I'm just saying, OMG. Wow. This is a really good project. Is it perfect? No. Are we starting with building name a city, like where's that one in Florida where they just Disney City celebration? No, we're working with existing infrastructure. We have competing demands. We have some people on council, and if I'm offending you, I'm sorry, but some people are like, the heck with cars, it's all about intermodal. This is a fine balancing act. It's reducing the amount of cars. It's a road diet. It's getting us money for improving the infrastructure for everyone, including cars, including 8-foot sidewalks. It has lots of positive attributes. And I ask myself, and I ask you to ask yourself, is this plan that's going forward as written much better than what you have? I think the answer is yes. If you don't agree that it's much better than you have, fine. You can vote your conscience next week. But this is a darn good plan. Is it perfect? I'm not enough of an expert to say it could be improved or not approved. I have our engineers saying this is a good plan. We had all the discussions. We got people. I have a hard time telling people that are in area of expertise and professional engineers. This is from an outsider's perspective. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you're gathering all this information and you're taking bits and pieces and you're getting community members taking bits and pieces, well-intentioned, by the way. The amount of devotion you have is incredible, but you're taking the whole plan and you're putting, from my perspective, and you're putting, how about change this, when, in my opinion, could be wrong, you're not looking at the big holistic picture of this whole thing and all it works. And I'm suggesting that as council, we need to trust our staff. It's the mayor's staff. They are comfortable with the plan as it is now. You may not be happy with it, but again, I ask, is it better than not doing anything at all? Checked with our finance director. Mike, do we have money to redo this plan, $300,000 to $500,000? Do we have money in the budget for that? I think we know the answer to that, but we want to answer that. Okay, so I'm just asking that you face reality. I'm sensing that you're going to go in next week with disappointment. You're going to have community members that are disappointed. Fine. What's before us next Wednesday is, do you want to approve this right-of-way acquisition contract modification number 4? I hope you do. Listen to the public, vote your conscience. I want this project to move on. All right, open it up for a second round. Jennifer.
I completely understand the frustration, both sides, and I appreciate that we have council members who are listening to our community members and advocating in the best way that they know how to get some better options. And that's our job. It's our job. We're supposed to listen to the people and do the best we can to work for them. And so thank you to my colleagues. I'm excited to see what comes of this project, because it is a great project. And I have to speak my conscience on this. I have also been concerned with the way that we are speaking about our engineering department in public. I do not believe that anybody has any grand schemes to shut the public out, public input. I know the process is long. You checked all the boxes for the process to get it done years ago. It was during COVID when this project first went out to public. Am I correct in remembering that detail? It was COVID, and that was when the first public input was received. You can't.
The first virtual meeting that we did, actually.
That's amazing that you made it happen during COVID to get public input virtually and do the best you can to scrape that together to move the process along. I'm absolutely 100% sure that you've acted in the best interests of our community and in using the resources available to the city to make this project happen. My question is, I wanted to know, what does it mean? I want clarification. What does it mean that another ordinance would need to be written? You were ready. You were holding your paper. You were ready. Yes.
What I meant by that comment was that, and this was something that there was the council president, just that if the issue that's before the council right now is up or down on this contract, right? The council wants the engineering department to do a different thing, right? definitely remember the shelter resolution that was on this last year, where you lay out what it is that you want to see happen and vote on that. So that and it helps make sure that everyone's on the same page too. Because it might be that like you're a thumbs down for one reason, you're a thumbs down for another reason. There's been all this conversation, but then it also memorializes like what the directive is to administration on this particular point. So all that got was just that this is a thumbs up, thumbs down on this. And then where we go from here, if there's like that you want something else to happen, let's deal with that.
Similar to the bridge process.
Words to paper on that part.
Thank you. Okay. I wasn't, yes, it does now. I wasn't sure what that actually, okay. And so this project has, so I think one thing that I'm concerned about is it goes beyond bicyclists, and it goes to, I'm especially concerned about, you know, wheelchair accessibility and safety. And it sounds like these are 8-foot wide sidewalks, you said? That's what we got down in my area. Y'all comment all the time how nice Lebo is. It's really nice. People actually throw shade sometimes because it's so much nicer than what they have in their areas. So if you want a little bit of what I got at 6th and Naval, then you'll want to improve this project. That's all. Thank you.
Michael. You know, I feel like if we were to do like pro and con on the board, there's so many good things here, and you know, if you're looking for what's wrong, you're going to find a long list of what's wrong. If you're looking for what's right, you're going to find a long list of what's right. You know, so I do think there's a lot of good. I kind of consider us right, like stewards, right, of the tax dollars. Okay, but the way I approach this kind of thing is like I would for my home. If I'm not spending $900,000 on my house, but if I were to spend $9,000 to plan something, I'm not going to spend another 3 or 4 because, you know, a little change. I can't afford it. We can't afford it here. And you know, and it's I'm not an expert. I'm not an avid bike rider, and I'm not a design expert. I'm getting 2 very convincing stories. They're both centered in safety. And so, and things are evolving. The amount of engagement from the kind of cycling and folks on these projects are great. I think we've seen good growth in engagement across the board for things. So, you know, it makes sense. I do think that as a city, we could definitely do better at letting folks know, you know, when the opportunity to participate is there, and make, you know, I've heard kind of Jeff refer to this too, like making sure we're really clear on like that, you know, this, like, you know, it's not like, oh, come tell us you don't like it at the budget, but it's done. You know, like where is this active time that folks can kind of, you know, be heard, and we can kind of hold some space for their idea and figure out. This is the hard part of the job. This is right. This is the hard part of the job where maybe we don't get what we want, can't give somebody what they want. And I don't want to lose this project. I mean, you know, it's just crazy how all these projects are like everything has been 10 years in the making. Quincy Square, which most of you were at this week, Monday, was amazing. 10 years in the making. Yesterday. And what's that?
I mentioned at the meeting yesterday. Anyway, good.
Okay. Anyways, so, but you know, and like I've had meetings, house meetings in the very beginning of this, talking about Naval and 6th Street, and how, you know, and some of them were bikers and some of them are not. And, you know, we also, when we keep talking about all the shipyard people queuing up our traffic, I'm in that line too. My neighbors are in that line too. Like, it's not just shipyard. The problem is if the shipyard backs up, then it affects all of us, right? So it's not just about whether somebody can get to work at 7 or 7:02. It's what it does to the whole neighborhood, and that's not safe, right, for anything. I don't know if I just said this or not, but anyways, we were looking at these projects sort of help stitch the neighborhood back together, right? We were more car centric, and that's how we got 4 lanes of traffic on Naval Avenue and 4 lanes of traffic going down 6th Street. And we're moving away from that. So we're, besides the center lane, it's a lane in each direction, big sidewalks, it's, bike lanes. I mean, so it's not perfect. And I don't want to say we shouldn't strive for perfect, but I think, a couple years ago, it felt much more perfect than it does tonight. I don't know. It's tough, but I think it's all I have.
Jeff, go ahead.
Sum up a few things and yeah, state off the bat. I'll vote for this to move forward, right? I'm going to be the adult in the room and make sure that this moves forward. But to re-summarize, right, this Jennifer mentioned, this was constituents coming to the council meeting, starting to send in comments last year because they were surprised, right? Because we heard directly from many of them, I live on Naval, I had no idea about this project. And so we pressed pause because we had no other mechanism, right? This is it, this right away, and it's going to go 2 years. There'll be, essentially, the funding comes through. That's the next point. Do we take the funding or not? And so the pause button was to try and hash this out now, not wait 2 years. And compromise what was the goal, right? And so working with those community members, that was the eye was to address their concern. So what came forward was a design that they thought those stakeholders and community members thought was a compromise and something reasonable. And one included a right turn lane, but still had protection, the NACTO standard, so it didn't require additional right of way. So I just want to be clear, it wasn't them coming and saying we want to eliminate right turn lanes. It's the compromise here that provides the level of protection. So I want to move forward on this, but there does need to be more discussion and education because I know, like Jennifer, you've talked about lived experience before, and I have lived experience biking all over this town, and I've taken 6th and 11th Naval. I've biked in other cities now. There's been previous council members who bike who are passionate as well, and our community members have lived experience. So I don't think that should be discounted. And I don't like being essentially shut down when we've had less than a minute of conversation looking at pros and cons on designs, and being told that because I don't have a PE, I essentially can't deep dive and ask questions and discuss pros and cons of different configurations. So if you add up the total time that we've actually, I think, spent looking at the various options that are in NACTO that are before us, it's in the minutes. I mean, it's not that long. So I just hope that as we move forward, I don't know if it takes 1 or 2 of us council members sitting in front of a whiteboard, sitting down over coffee, just trying to understand. But I think that's the goal, is that we just all understand the pros and cons, what's the latest and greatest. No, we can't always implement what just came out last week, but I just hope that the conversations, very appreciative of our staff, but I just hope they can be respectful both ways as well going forward.
Okay, very good. Any other comments or questions before I ask Ned and Tom? Go ahead, Anna.
Okay, just making sure that
Go
nobody
ahead.
from Public Works. I don't know if you were referring to me about taking offense, but like it's my job to represent my constituents in everything I can that squares with my thoughts. And my constituents have been coming to me since 2/22/22, and what they want is calm streets. I have never had anyone come up to me and say, I'm having a real heck of a commute to the shipyard. Well, I'm District 6, so how likely is it that that would happen? But I've never had anyone who lives in Bremerton, lives in my district, complain about that. So it's my job to try to get them what they want.
How does this not do that?
What?
How does this not do that?
Okay.
I understand.
Okay. It does not do that because it is increasing vehicular capacity.
It is not.
That
So
is
it is
what
not that
they-
it is a myth,
so-
that is.
Point of order.
Yeah, so point of order, respectfully, we're not gonna have agreement, I believe,
Yeah.
on this, so I'm gonna let you
Yeah,
have
well-
the floor,
well,
make
that's
your
fine.
statement, and then we're gonna move on from this,
Yeah, yeah,
please.
yeah. So I so I just wanted to address that. So I'm moving on to say that I agree with Denise. I think a paradigm shift would better reflect the people who now live in Bremerton. Bremerton is families now. And I am going to review this and do my very best to understand it clearly and do it my very best to represent not just District 6, but the people of Bremerton when I vote them.
Good. Thank you. All right, so Tom and Ned, and I'm hoping that that's the end of the discussion. Are we good?
I might reserve right, depending on what is said.
Oh, my question was, presenting next week, my request is, well, what was your proposal for, I don't want to rehash this thing. I don't want to open it up
I
again.
would propose no presentation. I would propose consent.
Does any member of the council wish to have this? So hang on, stop, point of order. So I'm just hearing that's not the wish of the council, so it's gonna be general business. It's okay. And then what I'm gonna suggest, if it's okay, is we pertain to the subject matter on hand, which is the agreement with HDR Engineering, supplemental agreement number 4, talking about the cost. And then my preference is that we don't open this can of worms up again tomorrow, on next 2 weeks from now. But it's up to you. If it's your comments are germane to this contract, it's your choice to do. So general business, but go ahead.
The only thing I'd like to say is that this is gonna come up again. Mark my words. You thought the bridge was bad, came up again with this project. It'll come up again on 6. And I stand by my perspective. I've been right about a lot that other people haven't seen at the very beginning around here. And we're gonna have a problem
No worries.
every time because of the lack of shared commitment to this.
So hang on, I don't want to go down that road, please, tonight. So my suggestion is that the mayor and I meet. And he's been listening in on all of this. And mayor will work with his staff and I'll try to work with you guys, maybe on a one-on-one basis, not breaking any quorum rules, but listening to your concerns. And perhaps we can come up with an agreement on how to improve the process going forward, but not for next Wednesday. I totally understand your perspective. Again, important project. I don't want to delay. Okay. So clear as mud for next Wednesday.
So you know, I stand behind.
I totally understand.
All the way to today.
Totally understand, Mayor. Yeah.
Clarification on folks, 'cause I'm sure folks will show up to the council meeting wanting to comment, whether it's on consent or
No,
not.
it's general business.
With general business, if they have comments on the design or anything else, we can direct them to public recognition or allow them to speak on this, or the comments on this really specifically right away.
I would propose, Council President, that's a very good question. I would propose that if they want to talk about design, that should be public recognition.
Yeah, you know what? I'll read the contract again and have it down pat exactly what we're voting on as far as what's germane. I err on the side of letting the public air it out. I really do. So, but I'll talk to our legal counsel before 2 weeks from Wednesday. My preference is to let people air it out. I don't mind being there. So, having said that, council rules and procedures, not saying any of this happened, but any complaints or derogatory comments or insinuations, we just gotta be cognizant of that. I tend not to hold the public to that same standard, but I will close the meeting or we'll take a break if it did get carried away. I'm not saying it will, but we need to be, this is a very emotional thing. I can just tell it is. I want to get through this. So short answer, I'll get advisement.
So I have two things. So the presentation, like I assume that we're gonna go to general business. You're gonna want a presentation of the short presentation that Vicky provided for the contract amendment. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to do it again or do you want even less than that? But basically we've seen this multiple times now. So I think the time's gonna be spent during public comment on this item. And I don't think it's gonna matter what we say as a presentation from that perspective. So I would propose a really short intro to what it is and say we're bringing it back.
Yeah.
And then we could
It's
see
a continuation. I'm in agreement with the rest of the council in agreement. This is a continuation of the discussion. Yep. We had a pause.
Okay.
You're correct.
Then my last thing is tone matters, words matter, derision is palpable. I would hope that when we have this conversation in 2 weeks, it's respectful, we have decorum, we're not saying negative things about departments or divisions, and that it's about the issue. I just ask that.
Yep.
And that's the same.
No, hang on. So no, understood.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
In letters to the editors.
That's fine.
Perhaps we could bring back the anti-capping ordinance.
Talk about gender.
Oh my
I
God.
think we should not,
I agree.
All right.
let's talk about lived experience. and why I
Hey,
just
we got
called
through
out
the
for that.
agenda briefing and really, we started this meeting at 5, although I feel like I've been here since 1 o'clock because I have been here since 1 o'clock.
It's the king cake expanded.
Yes, I'll have to Google
Sorry about
that.
that.
Are you guys, do you need a mental break, a 5-minute mental break, or are you ready to go to general council business?
We're almost done.
I, okay.
All right.
All right,
Are
I'll
we
have,
gonna spend a lot of time on retreat topic discussion?
No, I'm just gonna give you the format, or I'm gonna provide the general format and ask for your permission. Okay, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee briefing.
Jennifer.
oh, that's on me.
You chaired the meeting.
Well, that was fun. So I learned how to chair LTAC on the fly. Denise was supposed to be there, but she had some lame excuse
Like
about,
power went out in Maui for.
It's not important, worship, when I leave.
I'm not
Okay.
sure what this item is.
The
No,
LoTAC,
no, I'm not giving any briefing on specifics. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, no, I don't have any recommendations. All that there is to report is that Denise skipped our meeting because there were
There was no.
power outages in Maui, so she couldn't be there. And I did meet some folks, and it was fun to be part of the. I'm looking forward to the process and being part of it. We have our next round of interviews on the 7th. And Denise will hopefully be some more interviews. We have some more interviews to do. We're not deliberating yet. And then I will be learning about the process, and I have a fantastic former chair to assist me in that. There's really nothing else to report right now. Yeah. Yes, it was.
Right, Public Works Committee. I was changed.
At our Public Works Committee meeting yesterday, we voted me for chair and Jeff for vice chair. We're keeping things the same as last year.
Okay.
So the first item was decommission of the beach sewer main, but there are some financial issues, so that's being turned back to the Finance Committee, which Jeff and I are on. And so then hopefully they'll be on our agenda late February, maybe. We talked about the well 9A drilling contract. We got a brief heads up on the PSC EV pole charging program.
Yeah.
6th Street plan. That conversation wasn't really great. We were shown a design for like 2 minutes and then said, and we'd like you to recommend this to the full council. And we're at 10% plans. It's not up to what current evaluations of safe movements for bikes is at. It's those standards were developed in 2013. So we told them that we weren't ready to give any recommendation to council at all on that project.
Do you have those drawings?
It should be online. I'll look.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not, if I can jump in there, not clear to me the next steps on that project and public engagement.
Me neither. We went over the speed study for Snyder Avenue. And the Gunner met with the fire department yesterday. They're very much against any speed humps on Snyder Avenue because they said it's their only north-south route.
Without speed humps.
Without speed humps, so they're Gunner's gonna go back and ask them to drive on Halverson where speed cushions have been installed to see if they're willing to consider that. And they're working on the traffic calming manual, which hopefully we'll see pretty soon.
And it really worked too on Halverson. The number of cars every day has gone down dramatically.
Yeah.
Just real quick clarifying question. So the investigative study that was requested last February, has it been done yet?
Yes.
Yeah. And we asked it to be sent out to all council, but especially.
Yeah, we asked them to send it to you.
Thank you.
Then we talked about the Naval Avenue right-of-way acquisition, and we were immediately told that they weren't going to consider anything after talking with the mayor. They were putting it in a design freeze.
Okay.
So that was the gist. Oh, we asked about an update on the 5-year sidewalk program. And there isn't one. Now, operations, it makes sense because he could only forecast for the next 2 to 3 years what his grant funding will be unless we can find another funding source. So we asked him again to put together something showing all the capital projects that they anticipate sidewalks on, along with what operations knows for planned work. So hopefully we'll get that soon.
Right. Thank you. Planning session. So I looked at what we did last year and what we did when I last chaired this in 2020, very similar. So I'm proposing that we go over our current council goals, which we started to do at the end of last year. Spent a couple hours going over that, saying what we accomplished, we're satisfied, right? This is a 2-year goal planning process for the current ones. We can always change them and add additional ones. This is the time to have that kind of robust discussion. And then really, I would like, with you guys' permission, Anna already sent me, you probably saw the email about policy. I'd like to engage our department heads with the council to talk about just like big picture items that you want to have better clarity on. But to do that, I'm asking you to take between now and the end of next week to send to the city council address any topics that you'd like to have discussions with that you've been frustrated and say, I really could use an hour to talk about this topic. So we're going to knock out the council goals, which are already written, where are we at, which committees are going to push these forward, because they're going back up on the wall. And once a month, so every other study session, I'm going to call on that council committee chair. How you doing? All right. That's the way it works. Anna.
Just when we're going through the topics at the retreat, we start at the bottom and work up, because we started at the top and worked down.
And you're aware. Okay.
At least once last year, if not twice.
Or if you want, we'll do an Excel random number generator and we'll.
I like that. I like that even better.
No Excel.
That's all. I mean,
Watch me pull a goal out of my hat.
Transportation.
You guys just call me and I'll pick one.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make it fun. Yeah, we'll pick a number. We'll pick it out of a hat. Are you okay with that, Anna?
There you go. No, I'd like to start at the bottom and work.
All right,
because
well,
we really have done that.
Sure, I'm open to that. I was just kind of tongue in cheek. I'm good with that. All right.
And we can add things.
We haven't done
Absolutely.
it, hold on, we haven't done it a million times. We
No, I
came
said
back
twice.
to the middle of the sheet. We went back up to the top. So we're due to go back down to the second half.
So-
We never did. We got a new council president.
Anna, being a District 7 council member, number 7 out of, and also with the last name that starts with Y, I totally understand your position. Lived it my whole freaking life, so it's all good.
Parents have called you Zelda.
There you go. Okay.
I feel completely
All right.
validated.
So
Yeah.
that's my goal. So that's my ask of you. If
Sounds
there's
good.
anything you want to talk about that, like an hour, kind of in-depth conversation, whatever your topic is that you got your department head's going to be there, and I'd like them to be engaged, but they need a heads up. This is what I want to talk about.
Mhm.
All right, we're good with that?
I know
Yeah.
as soon as possible, but any hard deadline.
No, so I'm
And
looking
then
at this. And
My
we're meeting on
vacation.
the 8th, so I'm suggesting Friday, January 31st.
You guys should have staff do trust falls.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say
Um,
that.
Yeah, we'll start with the Public Works Committee with the department heads catching up.
I will.
Or should they catch us?
Yes,
Oh my
they should catch you guys. Give that a try.
That's what the padded room is.
But first, let's make sure that workman's comp contract's updated. We get that one all
Are we
good.
subject?
We gotta cut him off.
All right.
Good in the order.
Okay.
Corn soda.
All right. Regional and other committee briefings.
Okay, cool. So Kitsap Transit, they are citing the training facility because not only do they have a simulator down at Gateway where you can sit in it, and just like driving in traffic, they also apparently need acres of unblocked pavement. And Pendergast isn't enough. They need a whole new site to drive around and do stuff. So they had been planning to put that at Pine Road in a heavily residential area. They're now moving it to Arskia, the industrial area.
All this
immediately-
spread around Gold Mountain.
Yeah, immediately to the west of the Amazon facility, like adjacent. So perhaps the Amazon drivers can look over and go, wow, I could be earning
Not how you
25 an
do
hour. That was pretty much it, apart from state of transit. I'd like to know if this council would like me to keep asking the following question, which is the schedule for beginning Kitsap Transit drivers is really tough, and it lasts for 2 years. You're at one base or another base, and you're all over the place, and like the ferry.
Like the ferries, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's been significant, like 36 drivers, new drivers quit in a year. I believe that's the right statistic.
Wow.
Some before they'd gotten their CDL even. And they don't have data on how many did it because the schedule was onerous. And this is something that is mandated by the unions, and that's what Robert Driscoll has said out loud in public. Like it's the unions want this. So I would like to keep pushing for this, but I'm not gonna do it if this council says that doesn't matter. I think it's important for Kitsap Transit to hire and retain good bus drivers if we're gonna have public transit. So that's my pitch to you guys.
Okay, I'll have comments.
I'd like you to keep pushing them.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's one.
It's why it's so hard to keep ferry workers, because I do the same thing to them.
Yeah.
You're in Anacortes today.
Yeah.
Or you're in Bremerton.
I'll just ask, since the mayor's on the board alongside you, any comments or input?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from, something, the labor's input or union reps input on that.
Yeah, I'm not planning to tell labor what to do. I just think that I would like Kitsap Transit to consider it as something important. as they move, you know, not to like stand over them while they're negotiating or anything, but just for them to acknowledge that this is a significant block. And,
Is this a point of discussion already being had with among the board?
well, I'm discussing it, and now a couple more people are discussing it.
Let's say speak your conscience and,
Yeah,
you
that's
got
what you're there
you got a
for.
wide, large, diverse board there, and
Okay, well, it's like if council wants to say, no, just leave it alone. then I
Yeah,
would.
just be completely quiet at those meetings.
Yeah, right.
Give us a report on what the sandwich was like. And,
Yeah, that's right.
oh, wait, your group doesn't get sandwiches. I'm sorry.
We don't get
Oh,
sandwiches,
that's
but on the other hand, one of our meetings per month has been moved from 8:30 until 10:30.
Oh, that's
That's
good.
gracious.
I know, but the 8:30 had coffee, so.
Oh,
10:30 get nothing.
yeah.
6 and 1.
I guess you don't need coffee.
No, not at
That was it.
10:30.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
the only other.
Other general count, oh wait, other regional committees, briefings, any? Talk about?
little of both, but, Representative Nance hosted a Fix Our Ferries meeting, Saturday. The mayor and I attended along with, a new senator on the 26th and, new representative in the 26th. And Commissioner Walters was there as well. I feel like we're getting one more, but anyway, great audience, good discussion, so,
Addison?
yeah.
Councilmember Kaufman and we both work together and co-hosted.
Yes.
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
Cool.
Good. It was a really good meeting. I think the public felt engaged. Representative Nance did a nice job, and you know, I think nothing new, real informed wise for this council, but just folks are engaged, so it's good to see.
All right, other general council business? I have one for the good of the order. Go ahead.
I have a go to the order, but mine might be, it's a discussion and a request, so is yours longer?
Well,
or
let me
shorter?
take care of mine real quick.
Yeah.
Good? I'll give you one.
Oh, I have one there.
Okay, so mine is the homework legislative office manager. So Anna and I and Michael have gone through one rendition of the job description and incorporate changes that you indicated, including those add-ons. That's fine.
Thank you.
I'm gonna talk to Charlotte today. I'm forwarding it to her. You good with? Okay. And she told me that they're inquiring with other cities for similar positions. We received one response back. She's a subject matter expert. I'm gonna have her do the next edits. And then we'll look at the job descriptions and the three of us will reconvene, hopefully meet in person. I'm giving her all next week to go ahead and ask her to do this. And then we'll meet in the first week of February sometime. I'm trying to stay on schedule. February 12th is the council study session to review draft job description. I'd like to have it delivered. Okay? Stay on the schedule. All right.
You're
So,
on track.
So I'm out of town on the 5th is my travel date, this thing I'm going to. So I was gonna see if we could maybe even see about pushing public safety out. Yeah. Maybe, would you be okay with that?
I'm happy to just have it. Can you be elected can a person be elected vice chair in absentia?
Yes, they can. In fact, in many functions, you voted president. If you're not there. So,
Yeah.
Be careful. That's the
Yeah.
punishment. So,
Yeah.
or chair, I should say.
So I'd like to keep it, but.
We can keep it, it's on there,
I'm just
but we can
literally in
also
the air, so
defer
I
it
can't even
to,
zoom in.
we can defer it to the next agenda too, if we
Alright.
want to.
Alright.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
Jennifer.
Okay. I just have kind of a humble ask of counselors. I'm getting a little more and more concerned about Pine Road. And I don't know if y'all travel Pine Road much between Sheridan and Sylvan. It's, so I do a little, you know, like, I wouldn't say I'm a runner. I would say I'm a Phoebe from the Friends style runner. Have you ever seen her run before? But I do some jogging here and there, and that's a hill that I go up regularly. And I just have been getting more and more concerned about it. And I took some video, I don't know. So I just kind of want to know if there was any interest in exploring the state of Pine Road between those intersections.
What's your concern?
The concern is that, okay, well, people are speeding, that's a given. There's a lot of erosion happening on this road that's going more and more into the ditch. There's a section that's like, there's maybe this much amount of space between the ditch and the white line.
Sounds like you and Tom need to get out there and take
I would love if y'all, if you're on bikes in that area, or if you would like to walk with me, or, I don't know, I'm just getting more and more concerned about it.
Sheridan and Sullivan.
Between Sheridan and Sylvan on Pine Road.
Yeah.
So I, walk, as a walker, you're supposed to walk with, with traffic. So I go both ways. I go up the hill and down the hill. And there's several sections that are, there's erosion. I regularly see elders, in wheelchairs. There's one in particular, one gentleman who goes down the hill to the service station, and then he has to go back up the hill, and he's in the road, and there's limited sight vision. I'm just growing more and more concerned about, I've got video. I see this guy regularly. I think he goes down to get cigarettes. I don't know. And he comes back up, whatever. That's not my, business. But he's regularly going down in the road. There's limited sight vision and there's erosion, happening into the ditch. So that's my concern, folks. And it's a major, yeah.
It was on. That's a perfect thing to push on the customer response.
Okay.
Bremerton one. Like pavement rattling, erosion, things like that. So I'll go ahead and identify concerns with erosion and also lack of pedestrian facility. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and so, thank you, Tom. And so I'd love to just kind of keep an eye on this. And it sounds like Tom's gonna put some eyes on it too, and so maybe at some point in the future, in the next month or two, we can check back in on it.
I know that Pine Road has come up on Public Works stuff time and time again.
I'm sure it's.
Yeah,
It's in the tip, but it's
yeah.
way down low.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
Way down low, and I know that it's a big city.
Tip is large.
And so the reason I'm bringing it up is I want the perspective of y'all, because maybe you guys will tell me, well, Jennifer, there's all these other issues going on in the city, and this isn't really that bad.
13th Street between Wyckoff and Gitsap Way.
We've all got our,
I know,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to.
but get on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, that's it.
You're welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I know we got an exec session, but end us on a really hopefully high note with a lot of kudos, which was the Quincy Square groundbreaking.
Yes.
Was
Yeah,
a
Katie
fantastic
did.
event
I heard it was
on
explosively
Monday. Yeah, it was packed, a ton of people. A few minor things, but no, I really a giant kudos to Katie Ketterer for years and years of
Glowed.
yeah. So it was well pulled off, and to Jessica
Yeah.
Combs as well. I know they were working closely on coordinating the whole thing, but just fantastastically done. So all the kudos there.
Little thing I observed
Roxy
though
did
is
not a bad job.
Katie got mentioned, maybe somebody on stage mentioned her.
Yes.
And her, I assume husband and her son were sitting down, and he got up and turned around and was so proud of his mom. Really touching. It was a really good.
Props to
It was
Katie.
recorded,
to
so
Katie.
hopefully people get to watch, especially.
And I
Judge
wish
Jones.
that I brought that up yesterday in Public Works.
You did a nice job of the email. Right.
Yes,
So,
that triggered
for doing
people
that.
that went to Public Works too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They were
Good.
jealous.
So Anna, you have something positive to say?
I do. Actually.
Great.
Yes. First thing.
Jesus,
I'm 99% positive.
not lately.
Oh, positive.
Sorry, Anna has the floor, y'all. All right.
No worries. Just reminding counselors that if they purchase things like the NACDO highway manual, that council will in general reimburse them for that.
500 bucks.
So
That was like-
before you make a purchase, you should get council president approval.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting someone to ask, so it's all good.
Yeah. The second thing is, I have been talking to the Great Peninsula Conservancy about the Beaver Otter Wetland at Pendergast, and there's a grant that will come up in 2026. One thing that needs to happen before that is that it has to be a goal to purchase and give to some conservancy the Beaver Otter Wetland. That has to be in the comp plan. Are you guys okay with that?
Or you can't just spring that on in a
No.
council meeting, so.
It can't just be a goal?
No, not
That's
right
not a go to
now.
the order item.
That's a study.
Talking retreat.
We gotta talk to.
Really, just to have it as a goal? Well, okay, then I will set up.
In the comp plan, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Nice
Sorry.
try. Nice try.
No, I was
Alright.
not trying. I assumed that,
Yeah.
I assumed that this council would be interested in that, and I.
Not-
I am.
Not,
always
not to that
encouraging on
extent.
it.
Yeah.
No, I get, not to that
Very
extent.
interested is not right at this moment.
Okay, well, I'm asking, can I begin the process of presenting that to you? You guys okay with that? Is that okay?
Don't start presenting right now.
What I heard is people are interested in you sending it in as a retreat. So,
It could very well be. So we'll rate the retreat topics and not everybody's gonna get all the topics and depends on how many are there. So doesn't preclude us from having additional study sessions if majority of the council wants to talk about other things and we devote the time, we can devote the time. It's not just every Wednesday. Okay. With that, do you guys need a break? Because the next thing is a 15-minute executive session and then we're out of here. Your choice.
yeah, no break.
No
break.
No break. Power through.
I was thinking we could, since there's a bunch of people in here, we can go quickly to my office and that way.
Let's
I won't
go.
clear
Kick
set
'em
up
out?
for you.
Sure. Okay, so hang on before you guys get up and leave. Council will, hang on. So, hang on, please. Council will now go into a 15-minute executive session to discuss pending litigation as allowed under RCW 42.30.10, parentheses 1, parentheses I, and no action is anticipated and we'll be back in 15 minutes.
Recording, oh, yeah.
Session. Should it say recording? We're good.
No, you're good.
Nope.
All right.
Back.
Oh, yeah, you're still.
Says recording. Good to go. Hey, folks, we just finished executive session. No action was taken. Before we adjourn, reminder that due to the council meeting schedule, there'll be no meeting next week. You didn't know that? All right. Next council meeting will be Wednesday, February 5th, starting at 5:30 p.m. in the first floor meeting chambers, North Mix Government Center. Public, as a reminder, is invited to attend in person or remotely. But if you wish to speak during public recognition via Zoom, please, you must submit your request through the city clerk by calling 360-473-5323 at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. With that all being said, this meeting is adjourned.